Greetings of love, peace, health, happiness, and prosperity. This is Dr. Akila, and as promised, well, I didn't make a promise, but I said, I said that I would do a question and answers if you all left questions in the comments section. And like I said, I know that the channel is somewhat dead, but I can revive it anyway. And I can also revive it back to where we have people who are really serious about your health and who are really serious about getting healthy. So without further ado, let's get to these questions, okay? So the first one is from Louise Hayward. I want to know what you can do for type 2 diabetics and insulin dependent. Now, one thing I don't do is I don't do spot on consultations or stuff like that, because I don't know much about you. I don't know your height. I don't know your weight. I don't know if you're taking insulin pills. I don't know if you're taking insulin injections. I also don't know how long you've been on it. I also don't know your diet. I don't know your food consumption, your water consumption. There's a lot I don't know about you. And I also don't know about your emotional state. So let me talk about that briefly before I go on to the other thing in reference to what I can do. What I highly suggest is to make an appointment with me for a phone or a webcam consultation so that I can get to know who you are and your body and your health history and everything that you're on in reference to medication. Also, when it comes to the emotional state of a person who's diabetic, whether it's type 1 or type 2, it doesn't matter. You have denied the sweetness in life. You have denied yourself the sweetness that life has to offer to you. You put everyone else's needs before yourself. And this could be a learned behavior based upon your upbringing, or it could have been it could be part of your foundation that you learned this vicariously by watching your mother or another female family member that you love and trust so much. So it's more than just, oh, you have type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or you're on insulin. Oh, you need to take this. It doesn't work. And I want you all to understand that. And anybody who just knows nothing about you, who is going to just see your questions and just give you something so specific or something so broad, there's a lot of things. And this is not a generalized question. You know what I'm saying? You are type 2 diabetic who is on insulin. This requires for you, it doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be me. It could be, sorry if I hit my mic. It could be another herbalist, another naturopath. It could be another holistic doctor, someone who's into nutrition, someone who has experience with type 1, type 2 diabetic, or anybody with any type of knowledge on food health and herbal health and just basically revising your lifestyle. However, I can give you one tip that I know that you're doing. I have yet to meet a person who is type 2 diabetic who doesn't have any form of dairy in their diet. Now, hold on, because I do have somebody who said, well, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian. Were you born vegan? Were you born vegetarian? Okay, did you go vegetarian? Did you go vegan after you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes? I know they're different, but the approach is not really different, if you know what I mean. And one of the worst things someone can do is milk and cheese, any kind of dairy. But you know what else is really bad for you as a type 2 diabetic? White starch or anything like your breads, especially yeast-filled breads. So if you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and you went vegan and vegetarian afterwards, then did you detox all that out of your body? Did you actually go through the process of readjusting your body from that abuse? Understand, when you consume that type of food, you're actually going through an abuse. You're going through a form of abuse where you're feeding the type of foods that's doing you harm, and you have to undo that. So that all of that has to be taken into consideration. This is why when people do a consultation with me, that's not 15 minutes, that's not 30 minutes. Now, I do have 20-minute mini consultation, and that's to ask basic questions. But for consultations, it's an hour and a half. First time you talk to me, it has to be an hour and a half, because I need to know as much about you as possible. So I talk about your diet, I talk about your lifestyle, I talk about your stress levels, I talk about what you consume, I talk about when it comes to food and water and anything liquid, and I also talk about your emotional state. You know, if you're stressed, we talk about why, and I ask a lot in reference to your state of mind. And when it comes to being diabetic, we talk about, hey, when was the last time you did something for you? How do you feel about receiving the sweetness of life? How do you feel about receiving the sweetness of the earth, of a relationship, of a friendship? We have to talk about that. This is very important, because remember, holistic is a whole. And so it's not just about what herbs to take and what food to eat and not to eat. It also requires your state of mind, your spiritual well-being, the body as a whole, mind, body, and spirit. So mind, body, and spirit has to be addressed together in order to have complete natural healing and reverse the dis-eases that you have experienced. Okay, so G Girl 471. G Girl, you asked all these questions, girl. I'm not going to do this. I can't answer all of your questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer 3 of your 7 or so questions, and then I'll ask the other 3 next time. So, because I know when people see me beginning to ask questions, or answer questions that's left in the comments section, the next stage I'm going to do is probably do some call-ins. We'll see how that works. Okay. All right. So. The effects of grief. Okay. The effects of grief. This is something specific. You don't have to. This is not something you can take herbs from. I don't think you should. So, grief is a loss, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have somebody died. You can have grief for a job. You lost a job, and you can grieve for that job. You could have had to move out of your parents' home, a home that you was raised in, and you could grieve for that. You could grieve for leaving, unless you hate this state, you can grieve from leaving one state to another. So it just depends. I actually have to say that when I lived in Germany for 5 years, I really, really loved Germany. Didn't really like the politics, but I really loved Germany. And when I flew back from Germany back to Atlanta to drive back to my home in the south side, I grieved. I was very upset because I knew that there was a strong chance that I may never come back to Germany, or it would be 15 to 20 years before I come back to Germany. I just knew that it wasn't coming, and I grieved for the country I left, and the people there. Now, I can see the people. That's not a problem. But I'm going to miss Oktoberfest. I'm going to miss hearing German spoken around me. I'm just going to miss their culture and their customs, and I'm just going to miss the country in itself. And I grieved. So that's another thing that you do is grief. So the effect of grief is just natural. You're going to release some cortisone, and that is going to stress your body. It's going to lower your immune system, but you have to understand this is a process, and you go through, I don't remember the phases of grief, but I do know the ending is acceptance. So I think the first one is denial. And I'm not saying that everybody goes through these things. I do know that the first one is denial, and then bargaining and anger. It's a lot. And like I said, I can't remember all the 7 one. If you remember the 7 phase of grief, leave them in the comment section below this video. And and I remember that. And I know that when you lose someone or you lose something or a place, you have to go through that grievance. And I give it a year, should be 6 months to a year of that deep set grief. And then you have to move through it into acceptance. Because if you don't, then it's going to weaken your immune system tremendously. This is the reason why you see lovebirds. They kind of pass one after the other. So you have a couple and the husband passes away, and then shortly after the wife passes away. Well, not shortly, well, sometimes a month later, but normally it's usually several months later that the other partner passes away, because the grief is so heavy and it's so hard on their bodies, and it just tears up the immune system. And if they're older, this is why you see this with older partners, they say, oh, they died of a heartbreak. The truth is they died from their immunity being so low that a normal cold took them out. Allergies took them out. Ingrown toenail. It's just yeast. So much can happen to the body when the immune system is really, really, really low. And if you have had someone in your life with the lovebirds, if, like, say for instance, let's say if the husband has been in this woman's life for well over 60 something or 70 years, and now he's gone. He's nowhere to be found, because his spiritual world, his essence is gone, and his body now is going to slowly decay. She's going to feel lost, and it will hit her hard. This is when counseling needs to be implemented. This is when she is going to have to talk about it, share the things that she loved about her husband, tell stories that makes her laugh. That's the only way she's going to have to get her immune system up. Because like I said, when I said that you can go through a year, what I also mean is that you go through a year and it's getting lighter as the time progresses on. But if 9 months gone by and your pain is still fresh, heavy, and hard, similar to when they passed away, like as soon as you found out that they passed away, if it's the same exact feelings, that's not good. That's not good at all. That's going to definitely weigh on your immune system, and that will make you more open. Depending on your age, like if you're young, you can bounce back, but then you're going to go into a psychological deterioration. Like, so if you're old and you go through a long-term hard process of grief, then that's going to wear on your immune system, and therefore it's going to make you more inclined to have complications from basic illnesses. You would probably even pass away from something like pneumonia or the flu. But when you're younger, your immune system is more vibrant, it's more stronger, and therefore if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even if you're in your 60s, early 60s, you can bounce back from grief. The younger you are, the more you're able to bounce back physically. When I say physically, you'll be able to bounce back. Some people will stay in bed and just stay in there too long. That's fine. Everybody has a grievance process. They have a process to grieve, but it's important that you move out of that, because if you're young, your body's not going to deteriorate. Your mind will, and then this will affect your state of consciousness and what's real and what's fake, and you'll also be more inclined to be influenced into cults, and influenced into heavy conspiracy theories. Now don't get me wrong, there's some conspiracy theories that have a little weight to it, but then you'll get into the conspiracy theories of the flat earth, or there's I'm not going to go into all that because I don't want to be arguing with this in the comment section, but you need something to believe in again. And when you have gone through a long process of grieving, and we're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to have a huge effect on your mind. You're going to start forgetting things. You're going to be more open to be taken advantage of in reference financially. This is why I said you got to beware of cults. It's just, this is the bad thing about it. And so that is the effect of grief. So yeah, questions like this I can actually talk about. But one of the solutions to grief is go through it. But you need to know that there's a time period that you have to be progressing. As time goes on, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's supposed to feel a little better. And to help with that grief, you should be telling stories, opening up a fund, or donating in the name of your loved one. You can reminisce over the great times you have. Look at old pictures. Make a house in there. There's a lot of things you can do to keep their memory alive. And one of my favorite things to do to help get over grief is altars. I don't know what it is about altars that are dedicated to the loved ones that have passed, but they are there. And I'm not going to go into, if you want me to go into more of a detail in reference to altars, I can. But I think the last thing I grieved for was my pet. And, my pet died. No, sorry. Yeah, my pet died. My aunt died, who's like a mother to me. And then my pet died. My cat died. And I made altars for both of them. And I had their actual clothing. My auntie, who's like my mom, I had her glasses, her reading glasses, and I had one of her old house coat. And then with my cat, I had one of her favorite blankets, and I had water. Remember, air, earth, water, and fire. All of those elements on the altar, and a picture of them. And unlike my aunt, she's buried in a casket in a cemetery, I had an urn for my cat. And so that was there, and I'm just communicating. And it just was so therapeutic and very healing. And I noticed that the less time I spent at the altar and in remembrance of them, that's when I realized I was healing. That's when I realized I was getting closer and closer to accepting their passing. All right. I hope that helps you. If you have any other questions in reference to grief, let me know. So G Girl, she asked another one, detoxing the liver and kidneys. Detoxing requires a process. I think this is a little broad, but I think, well, here's the deal. If you're on certain medications, you got to be careful. I suggest that the basic way of detoxing the liver and kidneys, one, get off of as much processed food as possible. But let's talk about the psychological areas that you have to concentrate on when it comes to the liver. That's right here, anger. And when it comes to the kidney, worry. So let's listen to the psychological areas that is affecting these organs. What are you angry about? What is bothering you? What is upsetting you? Okay. And if it's dealing with your kidneys, what are you worried about? And if they're both, what's angering you that's causing you to worry? And it's also fear. Wait, no. Sorry. Yeah. Worry. Hold on. Am I mixing it up? Kidney. Hold on. Stomach anxiety, kidney, liver anger, kidneys. Hold on. Oh my God, I haven't done this in so long. I think kidneys are worry or fear or both. Okay. I got to look it up. Don't quote me on that right now because it's been a long time. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I haven't, when you give me these questions, I don't research them. I do it at the top of my head. But I think it's fear. I think kidneys are fear. Okay. And bladder is worry. I do believe. It doesn't matter. If it is anger, if it is fear, if it is worry, then work on that. The favorite herbs, and I highly suggest you consult with an herbalist. I highly suggest that you consult with a natural health practitioner in reference to how much of this you need to take, when to take it, and what you can and cannot do with it in reference if you're on medication. So one of the favorite the herbs for the liver are the milk thistle, turmeric, dandelion, and ginger. And and garlic. I forgot about that. And with the kidneys, cranberries are going to be great. I don't have this on here, but I remember corn silk. Corn silk is really good. Celery juice and ginger as well as garlic. So and nettle. Sorry, nettles are also good for the kidneys, but you're gonna need to consult with someone so you know, especially if you're on medication, so you know how to take herbs when you're on medication. And plus, you gotta deal with what's going on with you emotionally when you are consuming this. All right, and then you asked the question. Here's your last question, and I'll answer the next one on the next round. Detox during menopause and detox fads. Detox during menopause. I don't, unless you're on hormone replacement therapy, I don't see any detox that would be bad. Now, when it comes to detox fads, I don't know what you mean by that. What about them? Are you asking, is there a particular detox fad that you want me to talk about? There are lots of them out there, but I don't know which one you want me to talk about. Detox fads are bad. Detoxing during your menopause process is something that has to be done long term. This is, if you think going on a 1-day or even a 3-day detox is going to help you during a menopause, that's not going to happen. I don't think you should even fool yourself in thinking that a 1 day or 3 day detox is going to help with your hormones that is happening, the lack thereof or too much that you're dealing with during menopause. That is something that is very detailed, that requires more than just detoxing. However, if you want a generic detox suggestion during menopause, I would say you can do a juice fast detox, or you can do a roughage detox with, now this is going to shock you guys. I know this is going to shock you, but I would have to say with omega, high omega 3 fish. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. But let me just say this, fatty fish like your salmon, your sardines, your, not shellfish, your deep water fish that is high in essential fatty acids. And I should know this, mackerel. Okay, it's coming to me. I don't eat this, so but I do have clients who will eat this, so I have to remember these type of fish. So mackerel, salmon, sardines, grouper, so fish like that. Stay away from catfish. Stay away from tilapia. Do not touch fish that are farm raised. Stay away from that. Always go for deep water fish that's caught in the ocean. So it should say ocean caught. Those are your best fish. But stay away from the fish that are in the farms. Just forget that. So I would have to say, if you don't want to go vegetarian or vegan, then my suggestion in reference to a detox is, of course, y'all know me, stay away from red meat. But I would say start incorporating a lot of good fats, but no carbs. Just leave that alone when you want to go through a certain detox. If there was something in reference to the detox fast that you wanted me to talk about, leave that below the video, because you guys really need to be specific. And like, here's this one. Here's the last question, by the way, from Mother. My apologies. Mother Barbello said, can you talk about inflammation? That's too broad. There's a lot of inflammation. What kind of inflammation? Inflammation of the heart, inflammation of the lungs, inflammation of the skin, inflammation of the thyroid, tonsils. What? You guys have to be very specific. This is way too broad to talk about inflammation. Okay, inflammation is bad. Inflammation is a result of an acidic body. Inflammation can result from either eating or stress. It also can be, inflammation can be a reaction to certain type of foods. But if you want me to be specific on what type of, if you want me to talk about a specific inflammation, let me know about a specific, the inflammation in what body part, or what is it that you want me to talk about. But remember, inflammation can be a reaction to something that you consume, that you experience. You can also have inflammation after being stung by a bug or something like that. It's just, I don't know. It's just too broad. So do me a favor and, be a little bit more specific. Okay. So, and then I got more from G Girl, but I'll answer that next time. So listen, if you have a question for me, I'm back. I kind of like doing this until I get the signs. I got to get the signs that it's okay to talk about these stories. As you all know from my last video, that I have to be okay to talk about them. But other than that, you know, you gotta let me know if it's, you gotta let me know specific. Well, no, excuse me. What am I saying? I have to know that if it's okay to talk about these specific things, but I will. But listen, if you have a question that you want me to answer, if you have a question that you want to ask and that you want me to answer, one, be specific. Be specific, okay? And two, kind of like keep your questions down to at least 3 maximum. Okay, then the only reason I'm being very generous to G Girl is because, well, I'm just now coming back to this channel and a lot of people don't know I'm back, so I don't have a lot of engagement on this channel, which is fine. It's fine. It's just that, you know, I don't want people to get accustomed to asking a whole bunch of questions in one post. So if you feel the need to ask more than one question, make sure you keep it to 3. So let's see if we can keep this going, or shall I say, let's see if I can keep this going. And then we'll go from there. So leave me your questions below this video. And like I said, if you have a specific illness or ailment, that means you can schedule your appointment. And also my round table, I haven't been promoting it, but I think I'll promote it more on the next. I'll promote it on the next Q&A. I just wanted to get this one out of the way and then go from there. Okay, beloved. So I will leave you as I approach you with the blessings of love, peace, health, happiness, and prosperity. Have a good one.